Rawr.
Oh my gosh. Do you want me here?
I don't know. You're here.
Okay.
You can stay if you like.
I was like, oh, we're live.
We are live. Yeah.
Hi, everyone.
So hello. As you guys come on in, let us know where you're logging in from. Let us know how you're doing today. Just let us know you're here. So in this video, we're going to talk about core principles that are critical for your success. And I think there's two main things that most coaches want to create. If we could just boil them down to two things, it's the intrinsic, which is the impact, making a difference in the world, helping people. And then it's the extrinsic, which is business success, clients, income. So these are the seven core principles for massive impact and income in 2021 and beyond. And I think that's really important to understand that we're talking about now. And the world is different. Society is different. Social media is different. The way people consume information now is different. And if you try to take the recipes that worked even a couple of years ago, they won't necessarily work now. The way people are demanding that their information comes, the way people stay engaged, if at all, what people are paying attention to and how we get their attention and what they're not paying attention to and how all the algorithms have changed, all the social media stuff. You know, we were talking to one of our social media coaches and she said a lot of the platforms, or at least a couple of them, have moved up some of the initiatives or projects or rollouts rather of some of their features that they didn't plan to do for years. But because the world was online in a way that it's never been online before, they pushed a lot of stuff up. So over the last year plus, as people have been primarily online consuming information because we were locked in, essentially, the platforms changed dramatically, some of them. And so if you used to do certain things on Facebook or LinkedIn or Instagram, and it seems like those same things are getting a lot less engagement or a lot less exposure, you're just getting less results, then it could be that the playground rules changed. Not necessarily that you're doing anything wrong or the people on the playground changed. The bottom line is we've experienced disruption at a high level. And it's really critical for us to know where the market is right now, how people even relate to the idea of coaching, the product of coaching, their experience of coaching. This is a very fluid situation. And one of the worst things people can do is stay stuck on and focused on and committed to static strategies. So, right, exactly. So if this is something that you've experienced, I'm talking to everybody listening right now, not just you, Michelle, but if you've experienced, if it feels like you're getting less out of your Facebook post or you're getting less engagement or traction out of the things that you're doing, then just let us know, first of all, because it's important that everybody knows that we're not alone. You know, when the rules change, we have to pivot. We have to pivot by the way we do things because human consumption and human behavior patterns are a massive consideration. So when people are done with a certain kind of modality, let's say, it's just not novel anymore. It's not exciting anymore. Like Facebook Live, for instance, a few years ago, Facebook Live was the thing. It was like, holy cow, this new platform is amazing. There weren't a whole lot of people doing Facebook Live because it was cutting edge. And a lot of people were afraid to do it, or they just didn't know about it, or they just kind of wanted to wait and see if it was going to blow up before they jumped in. Well, now everybody's doing Facebook Lives. So it's not novel. There's a massive amount of competition. There's a lot of people that have learned from those trailblazers what to do. So a lot of people are now doing the same thing. And that's just what happens in this kind of industry where the market evolves because of the technology changes or just because of human changes. So there's some relevance here in where we are now. And some of the things that I want to share with you are based on what I believe is going to happen in the future. I already see some of these changes and what we think is going to happen in the future. So we're actually going to kind of future tell here a little bit so that you can be on the front edge here, on the cutting edge and on the front lines, because I think there are some opportunities for us that are massively exciting if you're willing to do them.
Yes.
But they're not 2019 and 2020 strategies anymore. They're 2021 or 2022 strategies. So there are 7 core principles that we're going to teach. In this video, we're just going to talk about the first 3. And then in the next video, we'll talk about the remaining. How many would that leave?
4.
4? Oh, okay, 4. Good. So I'm not a math teacher anymore.
It all goes when the title. Yeah.
You are massively pixelated, or I just got drunk.
Oh,
one of those 2 things happened just in the last couple minutes. Anyway, go ahead. But you can still transform through your pixelations.
Do I look cool pixelated?
I don't want to answer that.
Oh,
don't ask me things like that live, please.
Okay. Perfect. That's right. I have your reputation to protect.
Yeah, I look bad either way. I look bad either way. So is there anything you want to add to that before we get into the principles?
Yeah, absolutely. What I would share is that it's the exciting part. It's that there's so many industries out there that require, right, us to continue our education, to stay up to date on the trends and to stay up to date on what's current, right? What the new things that are coming out are, what's going to be happening in the future. I mean, hairstylists do this, doctors do this, educators do this. And so for us to be doing that as coaches, even if it's not something that's required, is imperative so that we can continue to be relevant in the present and in the future. And I think that word relevant is really important.
Yeah, and innovative is another really important word. I want to tie something into that later, not now. So please help me remember. So we're going to start in on these 7 principles. We're going to do the first 3. We deep dove.
Deeply dove.
Yeah, we did that in our mastery class series. So if you didn't see that and you want to go deeper into all of these, register for that mastery class series, even if you already well, I was going to say if you already registered, that wouldn't make any sense. But just register for our mastery class series. We've got 5 mastery classes that we're teaching. We've done 2 already. The archives are available for your consumption. And then you can join us for the next 3 or however many you can make live. For that, go to coachseansmith.com/coaching success 2021. That's on the screen right there. And you can watch the replay of all of these Facebook Lives that we've been doing on our Facebook business page, facebook.com/Coach Sean Smith. Go to videos and click on the playlist that's called The Foundations of Coaching Success in 2021. So the first 3 principles here, I'm just going to give them away, the first 3, and then we're going to dissect each one of them because I feel like they need to be discussed in conjunction with each other. Junction. What's your function? The first 3 things are confidence, certainty, and conviction. But I want to dive into the applications of these things because a lot of people know that they need to be more confident or they want to be more confident or they want to be more certain. I don't know that conviction is a word that a lot of people are using or really understand the importance of. So we want you to understand conviction, but even deeper than just these 3 words, confidence can come from many different sources. And what you've got to do, especially going forward, because of all the changes we've been talking about, is you've got to move from finding your confidence in the strategies to finding your confidence and sourcing your confidence in your skills. One of the worst things that's happening, I think, in the coaching industry is that the majority of the focus is being placed on how to get clients, and very little focus is being placed on how to be a good coach. That's one of the reasons that a lot of coaches are struggling. And I'm not talking about this from a moral perspective. I'm just saying most coaches are struggling because they don't believe in their skills.
Right.
And if you don't believe in the product, it doesn't matter what your strategies are. If you don't believe in the product, you're not going to allow the product to get visible. No. And this goes for any product in any industry, in any business. If you don't believe in what you're trying to sell to people, you're not going to advocate for it very strongly. Mm-hmm. And in this industry, what takes that to a whole nother level is that we are the product. So when we are the product and we've got our own insecurities and we've got our own limiting beliefs and we've got our own just humanity to deal with, if our humanity is in the product and we don't believe in the skills, and that's on top of a lot of the challenging head talk that so many of us have, then it's virtually impossible to, I'm going to say it is impossible to build a successful, fulfilling business. It's virtually impossible to build a successful business, but some people, for whatever reason, they can just jump over or power through that lack of confidence, or they can just sell something else and they're not really in it, but they can't be fulfilled. You can't be fulfilled unless you are in your business. You can't have a business that makes you feel really good about the work that you're doing unless you're in the business doing really good work. So the lack of focus on skills is not just this philosophical thing, like we should be doing this instead of doing that. What I'm telling you is the main reason that most coaches fail is because they don't believe in the product. And that's because their confidence is coming from strategy. They think if they have the right things to say on social media, or they have the right way to write emails, or if they have the 4-step sales process, that will give them confidence, and it won't. Because if you don't have confidence in your skills, you actually don't want to get in conversation with people because you don't want to mess people up. And if you don't want to mess people up, one of the worst things you can do is get clients. So, oh, geez. Let's touch on that for a second, because if you want to be a good person and you don't believe in your skills, then you will make sure you don't mess people up.
Yeah, you'll protect them from you.
From you. Bingo. So the short suggestion here is get really, really good and source your confidence in your skills. And that comes through practice, and that comes through dissection, and that comes through seeing a bunch of different angles. You got to study the craft. If you want to be really, really good at a skill or a craft, you got to study the craft. And too many people just don't do that for whatever reason. And this is only coming from 15 plus years and paying attention to what causes coaches to succeed and what causes coaches to fail. So in this conversation, we are more reporters than philosophers here. We're just saying, listen, I've been paying attention. And this is why most coaches sabotage themselves, because they actually don't do enough work to where they have enough confidence in the skills to be able to jump over not jump over, but to be able to overpower the sabotage. And
I want to add something. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, just one final thing, and it might lead into what you were going to say, but based on what we were just talking about a minute ago, if you don't have that confidence in your skills, and if you don't have really good skills, the best strategy in the world is not just not going to help you, it's actually dangerous. Jeez. It's dangerous to your psyche. It could be dangerous financially. It could be dangerous to your brand. Now, that also doesn't mean that there's this line to cross, and as soon as you've learned everything that you've ever learned, now you have permission to market. But most people don't have enough confidence in their skills for the visibility that they're trying to get through the marketing strategies. And that actually will sometimes traumatize people. Sometimes it'll just teach them that they're not ready, they're not good enough, especially if we have that internal belief system and head talk already happening. So premature visibility and premature marketing is actually dangerous. Go ahead.
Yeah, she's dangerous. What I wanted to add is that it's not just about having the skills, it's also about understanding the application of the skills. And those are two very different things. So when we're talking about confidence, it's not just in, buying a program that just gives you like some exercises that you can do. You want to be confident in understanding how and where and who and when and what to actually do with the tool that you're learning. And those are two different things. And so it's important that you're confident in both.
Yeah, bingo. So the second principle here is a word that is used alongside confidence quite a bit. And but it is different. There's a distinction here, and it's certainty. Certainty is just a deep, deep knowing. Confidence is when we believe in our abilities to perform with our skills and do the work that we want to do. Certainty is a deeper, energetic, like essence that you know. And there are two different sources of certainty. One is the mind, and the other is the body. So what I believe has to happen going forward is you've got to move from embrained certainty to embodied certainty. I'm really proud of that word, by the way.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody's heard of that word, because I just made it up Saturday. And is your certainty in your brain, or is your certainty in your body? And the reason this is really critical is because what the brain demands for certainty is literally impossible.
Dang.
What our brains, what our brains demand for certainty is based on us not failing in the future and us knowing everything that we can possibly know so that we know how to be prepared. So what that means is the brain is essentially demanding that we can predict the future and let it know that we know exactly what people are going to say. We know what's going to work. We know what price is going to sell. We know if we do this action, we're going to get this result and outcome. That's the kind of intellectual certainty that the brain demands. And that's the kind of certainty that most people, whether they realize it or not, are actually looking for. That's why the most common question comes in some form of, what's the right thing to do?
Right.
When we're looking for the right thing to do, we're trying to predict the future. And I know you and I have been on the phone with so many people, and we've been just behind the scenes. It hasn't happened for a few hours now, though, where we were like, what can we do? I don't know. No idea. But we're just going to try something and see what works. And it's interesting because a lot of times Michelle and I will be in conversation, and one of us will have to remind the other, we don't know. Because we just fall back into that pattern because we want to know. Should we do a webinar? Should we do what kind of email should we send? What should we put in the subject line? And sometimes we're just trying to figure it out. And one of us just go, we know we're trying to figure out the impossible to figure out. But that's what most people are looking for. And that's actually one of the reasons why we get tempted by the strategy guarantees.
Oh, yeah.
And the people that go, this is the right strategy if you want to build your business as a coach, or this is the right niche to go into, and this is the market that you should never do, and here's how you should always charge this price. Those are really tempting solutions to questions and perceived problems that our brain is ruminating on all the time. The only problem is they're literally impossible. There's no way to predict the future when humans are involved. And the desire that turns into the demand, which then turns into expectations of being able to predict the future, is one of the main reasons that most businesses fail, that most personal development fails, and certainly why the struggling coaches are struggling. And why a lot of the coaches, the majority of coaches, can't overcome that struggle because they never take the embrained certainty and turn it into embodied certainty. And what that means from an application standpoint is that we have to focus more on our resilience than trying to get over our resistance. Like if we are expecting our fears to go away, which is the resistance, that's embrained certainty. We're looking for guarantees so much so that we don't resist anything anymore. It's ridiculous because it's impossible. It's really about resilience based on experience. That's the key. And one of the things that's been so amazingly clear to me over the last, I've been saying ignorance on fire for all of these 15 years that I've been in this business. But it really didn't hit me until fairly recently how critical that is. There are certain things you can only learn through ignorant action. So, but ignorance is not what the brain is willing to lean into, right? Embrained certainty demands that we're not ignorant about anything. We don't want to do anything that we don't know about. So we're constantly on this search to know what's ahead of us, but there are things that we cannot learn as a person. There are things that we cannot create as a creator. There are muscles that we cannot develop as an entrepreneur unless we take action when we don't know. I think that's what's crystallized for me recently, is that what we're trying to avoid is a requirement for the muscles that we need to build. And in this whole conversation of embrained versus embodied, we have to understand that the body only always wins. That's it. It only always wins.
Well, only then, though.
That's it. All the other times the brain wins, but the body only wins every single time. Every single time. So when we hit disruption, when we hit frustration, when we're tired, when the things aren't going the way that we had hoped they would go, our body shows up and our body takes over. So our certainty needs to be in our body if we're going to show up with certainty when things change. And here's the other thing, things only always change. That's it. Your expectations will go unmet only 100% of the time. That's it. Only 100% of the time. So there's only 100% of the time that your body will show up and take the wheel. So our invitation to you is make sure it knows how to drive in those situations where you want to go. But most people are putting all of their certainty in their brain, and their brain is the first one to jump out the car or jump out the plane when things go a little south and expectations aren't met. So I know there's so much more that we can dive into this. And we did in the mastery class series. So if you didn't hear this, we went deeper into all of this stuff. So you can register for the mastery class series and get the deeper dive that we just did this weekend. But is there anything you want to add to that, Michelle, before moving to the third one?
Yeah, I just want to highlight what you said, because not knowing, right, that it's dangerous to the brain. So the desire to understand and know what's going to happen and have that embrained certainty, that means survival to our brain. So what we're doing through what you said, which is the required action that needs to be taken when we don't know, is actually giving ourselves the experience of being safe. So it's giving ourselves the experience of the opposite of the thing that we are afraid of. And that is why it's so important for us to begin to shift that pattern and the story that we're operating in. And the other thing that I want to say is that if this does not currently apply to you and you are a coach, you want to be a coach, you need to know that if you coach other people, right, they are probably at some point in their journey going to be dealing with this.
Yeah, that's a really good point. All right, number 3. I know it's always hard for us to move on. Like, no, let's talk more. We only have 4 more hours to talk about certainty.
Right.
Number 3 is conviction. And it's similar, but the application of this that we're talking about is you just have a conviction that you can't not do this. And we've all been convicted about something. Maybe it was getting a degree. Maybe you went to school and you went to college and there were a bunch of things that happened during your life, but you stayed in it because you made a promise to yourself, or you made a promise to your parents, or you made a promise to your creator, or whoever it is. Or maybe you have a child, and a child, had some kind of disruption, or you were just going to show them what it really means to be a parent or an entrepreneur, or whatever the case is. I think we've all had experiences where we've tapped into our conviction. And the question is then, how do we tap into our own conviction? Because this can be a personal journey. It's not the same thing for everybody. How can we tap into our conviction in this area? And if this area is coaching, my experience is that if you haven't had a transformational, life-changing experience with coaching, then you probably don't have conviction in coaching. Doesn't mean you can't get it. I'm going to explain to you, or we will explain to you how you can get it. You can.
Yeah.
But my experience and Michelle's experience was that this work changed our lives fundamentally. And we were like, people got to feel this.
Oh, yeah.
People got to know this right here. And my desire to get people to feel what I felt on that piano bench in 2005 jumped over my desire to stay safe or my fears of visibility. I had, especially back then, a huge fear of speaking. I mean, I used to speak even on just telephones. So this is back in the days of just teleseminars. We didn't have videos back then. I mean, at least not the way we do it now. I used to speak on the phone and literally hyperventilate. I could only inhale. I couldn't exhale. And this would go on for minutes until I would have to take a break and, pause and then just get my body to exhale. I mean, my embodied certainty was so low that it was literally trying to choke me out and just say, stop talking because you're an idiot. Nobody cares what you have to say. But my desire to get people to feel what I experienced was just overpowering that. It was stronger than that. And what a lot of people are doing in my experience, again, I mean, I can't say that enough. Like this is why so many people struggle, is because they either don't have that conviction to touch, or they're just not touching it.
Oh.
And it's very easy for us to forget about our conviction when we're frustrated, when we're tired, when we don't know certain things, we don't know the right way to put up a website or whatever it is in marketing. And if you want to build a business of any kind, and you want to help people, and you want to sell, and all the things that you got to do as a coach to help people out, if you want to make an income from this, there are a lot of quitting points. Yeah. There are a lot of frustration points, right? We were joking around. You had mentioned, somebody asked the question, have you ever wanted to quit? And I said, you remember what I said?
Yeah, you asked me what time it was, and I said the date.
Right. I was like, I don't know. What time is it? Like, a few hours ago. I had the desire because we experienced frustration. That's and right. So when the human gets frustrated, one of the things that the mind will tell us to do is just quit. Like, why would we keep doing this? Yeah. This is not fun. The way to stop not fun is to stop doing this thing.
That's right.
So if you don't have another reason to stay in the ring, when your mind will tell you to leave the ring because you're getting hit from all the directions, if you don't have a reason to stay in the ring, you'll probably leave. Yeah. And that's just the way our human brain works.
Yep.
And it's happened to me so many times. It's a function of frustration. When the human is frustrated, one of the thoughts that I think the human will always have is quit.
Yeah.
Quit.
This is too hard.
It's too hard. It doesn't, like, why would we do this? And that's when we have to tap into, we have to have an answer for that.
Yes.
We have to have an answer for that. Yeah. And if our answer isn't big enough to overpower the fear of continuing to get hit in the ring, then we're going to exit. Now, we might go take a few moments or a few days or a few months or a few years sitting in the seats before we get motivated again and get back in the ring. But you guys, this is the process. And what I've found and what we fully believe in is we all have a reason that is actually big enough to answer that question and stay in the ring. But most of us, I think, and anybody that's really struggling, they just don't touch it. They forget about it. And I think one of the reasons they forget about it is because they've decided that you should never have the quit thought. One of the worst things, one of the worst pieces of BS that we've been sold is that winners never quit and quitters never win. That's one of the biggest loads of crap. Winners quit the most. The people who are most successful quit the most. The question is, what are they quitting? What are they quitting on? But we take that as a universal statement that if I want to build my business, then I can't have these thoughts. If I have the thought of quitting, then that means I have a loser mentality. And I don't want to tell anybody that I had a thought of quitting earlier today. So we don't share that we're actually having a human experience as a human. So we don't know that other people are having those experiences as well. Therefore, we think that we need to get rid of our natural human tendencies and we need to change the way our brain neurologically works before we stay in the ring, before we take the next step. So we have such wildly false expectations of what this journey looks like, what it's supposed to feel like. Therefore, when we have the natural experiences that are not only okay, but they are required, I would be borderline offended if a coach didn't want to quit at some point in time, because I think that means you don't give a damn enough. Wanting to quit, at least having the thought, is a function of two opposing forces. It's a function of wanting something so bad that it elicits the doubts of whether you can do it or not. If you don't care about something and it gets tough, it's easy to just go, yeah, whatever, I'll just do something else, because you don't care enough for your doubts to really kick in. But if you care a lot about something, then your doubts have to raise up to that level of your give a damn to even see eye to eye. So when those doubts get that high, that's actually a sign that you care a lot. And if you don't care, and if you don't have doubts about something you haven't done before, if you don't question whether you have the capability to fulfill your purpose, your brain is not working properly. I'm more concerned about you because I think you're a psychopath. Those are the people that don't care. Those are the people that have such low self-awareness or no self-awareness that they genuinely don't care about what people think about them. They genuinely don't care if they screw somebody up. They don't care if people get hurt. So one of the biggest things that I want people to hold on to is your challenges, your doubts, your fears, your insecurities getting triggered is a sign of you giving a damn. Your insecurity has to be there. If people will resonate with you, if people can see themselves in you, or if they're going to see themselves in you, they have to know that you are an insecure human. That actually adds to your leadership capabilities. It doesn't make you weaker. It doesn't make you a loser. It actually makes you more of a leader because it means you're real. It means you have self-awareness, and it means you're willing to look in the mirror enough so that you can help other people who are wrestling with the reflection in the mirror right now. It's one of the biggest misconceptions of personal development in general and building a coaching business specifically. And I get pissed sometimes when people literally tell other people that there's a way to get over those fears, or you just need to avoid, feeling like a human, or when people tell themselves, I can't take a step because I'm doubting myself. Well, listen, if that was the case, then I can't do anything that I've done today, let alone the last 15 years. So it's really about being fueled by your insecurities. Learn the lessons inside of your insecurities rather than trying to pretend they're not there, deny their existence, or wait for them to all go away before you have permission or the authority to share what you have to share on this planet. I don't even remember what the third principle was, but
it's embodied.
Okay.
Yeah. It pisses me off too. Yeah. It's conviction. It's what I feel from you in this moment, right? And that doesn't mean that you don't ever want to quit. That's the thing. I believe that those moments, the depth of that is absolutely equal to the depth of the desire. So you wouldn't have that thought if there wasn't desire there, if there wasn't something that you wanted, whether it was an experience for yourself or an experience for somebody else. I've burst into tears. I've burst into tears numerous times when I was in sales and doing consultation call after consultation call, and somebody saying no to transforming their life, to changing their life, and have been like, why am I even doing this? Why does this even matter? Because there's a desire there that's in me. So I honor that. And yeah, I mean, this will be like a 2-hour video if we talk about how pissed off I get about the shaming externally and internally that comes in when we believe that those of us who are in personal development, and specifically those of us that are leaders in personal development, are never supposed to have any kind of emotions that are human, right? We're never supposed to doubt. We're never supposed to have any fears. We're never supposed to have any kind of insecurities. We're never supposed to be anything other than positive all of the time. That's bullshit. It's bullshit, and it's not real. And anybody who's telling you differently, in my opinion, they're a liar. They're a liar because they're not human, or they're not human, because it's part of the journey. I mean, it's part of the process. So embrace it. I told Sean this, I think it was last week. I also wanted to quit today, and I would not have accomplished anything today if I let my doubts like lead the show. So that's real talk for me as well today. But I had a thought, I think it was last week, where I told Sean that there was a moment where I was sitting at my desk and I was like, you know what? Like, just forget it. I don't care. Like, I said that, like, I was like, I don't care about any of this, about whatever I was doing at the time. Like, I don't care. It doesn't matter. And then I sat there for a second and I was like, duh, yes, it does. I mean, it lasted for just like a moment where I was just like, I wish that I didn't. I wish that I didn't want to like make that other call, or stay up later, wake up earlier, do that extra thing, or go that extra mile. Sometimes I wish that I didn't have that. I do. But I do. And I know that it's one of the things that makes me great. And it's one of the things that makes you great too. So embrace that, lean into it, speak about it, call it out, shine a light on it. I promise you, it'll be liberating for somebody else as well, because they're looking for a human.
Yeah, I think so many of us are trying to avoid the fears, avoid the doubts, the discomfort. And I get it. And like, that's also part of the brain. The brain wants a smoothly paved road. Mm-hmm. And one of the questions, for whatever reason, this is what I was thinking about when you just finished what you were saying. One of the questions that I think does us a huge disservice is when we ask people, what would you do if you knew you couldn't fail? Because how much time is this video?
Yeah.
What would you do if you knew you couldn't fail embeds the idea that going after your biggest dreams should only happen when you know you can't fail. I think it's the biggest, or one of the biggest loads of garbage. What I ask is, what would you do if you knew you would fail, but you have to do it anyway? Because you can't not do it. What's that thing inside you that's bigger than the fear of failure? And there is no such thing as trying to do anything that will allow you or require you to evolve as a human that doesn't involve failure.
Wow.
It's impossible. You cannot grow without failure. You cannot get back up without getting knocked down.
Oh.
And the most powerful muscle is the muscle of resilience.
Yeah.
But we're so afraid of getting knocked down, and we're trying to avoid getting knocked down, that we don't build the most important muscle, which requires us to recognize that when we are horizontal, we can get vertical. But if all we're trying to do is stay vertical and make sure we never get horizontal, make sure that we never get embarrassed, make sure that we never fail, make sure that we never feel any of those negative feelings, we can't play.
Yep.
And we certainly can't lead humans that desire human leadership, as you were saying. And your get back up muscle is way more important than your never get knocked down muscle.
100.
So if you had $1 to spend and your choice was spend that dollar, whatever that dollar amount is, and spend that hour learning how to not get knocked down or learning how to get back up, I would tell you spend all of it. Spend all of your money. Yeah. Invest all of your time. Invest all of your energy in getting back up.
Yes.
In knowing how to sail rough seas, not smooth seas, because the smooth seas just don't happen all that often. And it's not a particularly fun journey. But here's the thing. There's always, with these kinds of conversations, there's always a counterintuitive, great piece of news. The great piece of news is when you build your resilience muscles, you lose the fear of getting knocked down, or at least it diminishes. And when you're no longer afraid, or at least not in panic mode of getting knocked down, you don't get knocked down as much.
That part.
Because you're not afraid of it. We energize that which we are afraid of. And because of that, we don't fully commit. It's the lack of commitment. You know, it's like riding a bicycle. My son and I went mountain trailing on mountain bikes last week. And they've got some features where there's like just wooden planks. And, you know, it could be 6 feet or 8 feet or 10 feet. And the first one I went on, I was scared because it was like 3 feet or 4 feet above the ground. I was scared. So I went up there and I rode my scared bike. And if you ride a bike scared, guess what your front tire does? Right? Because you don't have much momentum. And so your body is trying to balance with very little speed. And I fell off. Later on in the day, there were some thinner features where it wasn't as wide, but I went fast. I didn't even come close to falling because I had momentum. And I had already fallen a couple times. So the fear of falling was pretty much gone. And I fell off and I was like, all right, I'm cool. So it's that momentum piece. When we are afraid of the fall, we don't commit to the motion. And when we're not committed to the motion, we increase the likelihood we'll fall. And that's the cycle that so many of us are in. And practically speaking, that's the fear of failure. We're afraid of hearing no. We're afraid of the rejection. We're afraid of the abandonment. We're afraid of people not liking us. And when we're afraid of people not liking us, we'll show up. We'll ride our bikes really slow. We'll show up like we're walking on eggshells because we don't want people to not like us. Yeah. But when you're afraid of people not liking you, you'll never show up committed to the real you. So therefore, they never even get to know you. Best case scenario is they don't like the not version. They don't not like the not version of you. That's the best case scenario, is you cause people to not reject somebody that you aren't anyway. But you never gave them a chance to actually like the real you. You never gave them a chance to love the real you. So when we're so afraid of people not liking us, we never give ourselves the opportunity for people to love us. And from a business standpoint, that means people won't follow us. So if we're afraid of people not liking us, we're not going to be bold enough for people to actually get to know and hear the things that they need to hear in order for them to follow us. And I don't think there's such a thing as a passive leader. We have to be bold, especially in today's world. In today's world, with all the disruption, people are craving boldness, but they're craving it through authenticity. Going back to, just trying to close this loop, going back to the idea of conviction, you can have conviction in who rather than conviction in what. Most people are convicted in the what. What is it that you want to achieve? You want the money, you want the clients, you want the big business, you want to be able to achieve something or do something. And that is just intellectual conviction. That's not what's going to get us back up when turbulence happens. Yeah. What we've found is that your conviction is way more powerful when it comes from the who. And I love the way you said it the other day. You said, and it's twofold. It's who them and who me. Yeah. It's who are you seeking, or who are you serving rather, that's seeking you, and who inside of you can you find conviction in? It's conviction in your journey, conviction in your story, conviction in the feelings that other people need to feel, conviction in your inner child, conviction in the people that are watching you. There's a lot of internal conviction that actually has the power to outweigh pretty much all of our external fears. But when we experience external fears, most of us try to find external conviction. And that's not the best place to find it. Our internal conviction is so much deeper and it's so much stronger. And our conviction as humans to help humans is also so much deeper and so much stronger. So what I'm saying to you is, if you're trying to find your conviction in a dollar, in a dollar amount, in a coaching package sold, it's going to be so much weaker, so much more shallow, so much more temporary than if you find your conviction in a person. There are people out there that are seeking you. There are people out there that are seeking the answers to the questions that you can answer. Yeah. There are people out there. And if you think about the people and not the paper, you'll get up faster and you'll stay up longer.
Yes. It's 100% been my experience. The other stuff doesn't have the power. The paper doesn't have the power.
It doesn't have the power.
No.
So we're going to stop here. We are nowhere near done in this conversation, but we're going to stop here. What's that?
I said I just choked down a lot of words.
Yeah, we're going to stop here only for time's sake, so that we can end this video in 30 minutes. Now, one thing that I said, I just want to close the loop just quickly, is that if you don't have that life-changing experience where people got to feel what you felt, you can find that conviction, but it's actually, in my opinion and experience, on the other side of confidence and certainty. Meaning, you've got to get in the work. You've got to learn about coaching. You've got to see people's lives changed on the other end of your tongue. And then you'll start to get certainty. And then you'll start to have more confidence. And then you'll start to have more certainty based on that confidence. And then it can build a cycle, but it can only build in motion. It can only build through your experiences. And then at a certain point, you can hit that place called conviction in yourself, because you've seen lives changed. If you haven't seen lives changed, or you haven't felt lives changed for you personally, it's going to be really difficult for you to advocate for life change if you haven't experienced that. So it can happen regardless of how you got into this journey, but the pathways that it can happen can be different for different people. And what I'll tell you is, if you want to do something in your coaching business, if you want to do more marketing, if you want to do more videos, if you want to go talk to more people, and you're not doing what you know you should be doing, and on some level you want to be doing to create an outcome that you want, you don't have conviction.
Yeah.
It's just that simple. That's what I put my life on. You don't have conviction if you're sabotaging yourself. Now, I want that to be exciting on some level. It might not feel good to go, oh, okay, well, I'm just not convicted. What do I do? Take my ball and go home? No, get conviction.
Yeah.
That's the answer. The reason I say that is because I want to highlight what the target is. Because I'll tell you what, if you don't have conviction to get over the sabotage, clarity in a marketing strategy ain't going to do it.
Right.
Putting your goals up on a poster ain't going to do it.
No, it's going to make it worse.
Focusing on affirmations ain't going to do it.
No.
It's unless all of those things are building your conviction to overpower the sabotage. So I want this to actually be empowering and enlightening to you. If you are sabotaging yourself, you're not convicted enough. And I'll say that to myself as well, and say it to Michelle as well. If we're stopping ourselves, we're not convicted enough. So touch the conviction or get the conviction. And in the coaching industry, my experience is that has to happen through your experience of and your deep dive study of the work. You got to become a master. So we're going to dive deeper into that in the next 4 core principles that will help you increase your impact and income. Because of the time, we're not going to talk a whole lot about the certification program, just because the 30-minute video is a little bit more than 30 minutes. But if you're interested in everything that we're talking about, our certification provides that, because that's what we know people need. And so we have a certification program coming up in August. It's called ECCP. It's a 5-day fully online event. And the whole point is to give you these experiences that we're talking about. Yeah. Deep dive into the work, experience the work as a client, as a coach, see a bunch of demos take place, get it into your body, not just into your head, going from embrained to embodied, so that you can touch a level of conviction that you probably didn't have before. If you engage in the work and you allow the work to do what it has the possibility to do in your life and in other people's lives, then that is what I believe most coaches are missing. And that's why strategy isn't working for most people. If it was, and it doesn't work in almost any industry. Is anybody really missing the strategy to lose weight?
No.
Is anybody really missing the strategy to save money, to make money? Like, we know what to do. That's not the problem. People do not have an information deficit problem. People have a conviction deficit problem. It's not about not knowing what to do. It's about not having conviction in what you already know how to do. That's the biggest distinction, I think, at a deeper level that causes most people to fail. So I'm going to give you the last word, but if any of you are interested in that and you don't know about ECCP yet, it's on the screen here, coachshansmith.com/ECCP. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, reach out to us. I think you can tell we kind of dig this work and we're a little fired up about it. And we advocate the power of this work only because it's fundamentally changed the way that we experience this planet. Amen. And it changed the way that we will experience this planet for the rest of our lives. Like, that's just insanity. So go ahead, Michelle.
And it changed the way we support and guide other people in changing their experience of the planet as well. The word that came to mind to me a moment ago that I choked down and then it wouldn't go is possibility. And so asking yourself the question of how where can I get convicted in what's possible? So that is through coming to a program. If it's not our certification program, then another one, because you got to be in the place where you're seeing it, where you're seeing what's possible from other people, with other people, where you're seeing what's possible in you, with you, where you're coaching people, whether it's free clients or paid clients or peers or friends or family with permission, where you're just seeing what's possible. You're feeling in your body what's possible, and you're doing the work yourself so that you're having that conviction of this is possible. That's the word, is possibility. So get yourself in whatever room, whatever conversation, whatever space you need to be in, where you can explore, tap into, and be a part of what is possible, because that will always lead to your conviction.
That was me dropping the mic.
Considering how much you love that mic, I am very, very, very honored.
It was a slow drop, and I had my hands underneath it, but it dropped.
It counted.
It counted. All right, you guys. We'll see you in the next video.
Bye.